Just fucking do it. Subscribe now. But to answer your question, in a lot of places, murder is better. It is. And we've had just about...
Because I'm thinking like a bank doesn't want to hear that someone maybe gave you some money and it's not
no, you don't have to plead to us. We're not the jury. We're not the jury. But I'm fortunate that I'm pardon? What?
Did you get less than 7 years? Did you get less than 7 years?
No, did you go to jail for 7 years or less? No, she hasn't gone to jail yet. Hypothetical. Yeah, for a friend. Yeah, it's like, hypothetically, if I lived in Sauerbruck, are the odds that I'd be a hippie or not, you know? I can't believe there's still hippies there, 50 damn years later. God almighty. Yeah, but, this sounds awful, but I mean, that's where we went to get laid, fuck around, Jesus Christ. It was crazy. The girls were crazy back in those days. Are they still crazy? Oh, no, okay. Well, I still have one single son, so I'm asking for him. So I'm like Alexander. I'm not asking for myself. I'm asking for my single son. Yeah.
Mentioned earlier today that
Are you going to ask me a question from 3 days ago now?
We're going to do a case study like in the hardcore.
Hardcore? That's it. And some of the cases, when you come to the hardcore, you're supposed to bring 2 cases, plus any cases that you're currently working on. Half the people that come to the hardcore never did a deal, okay? And so they go to online, Harvard, University of Chicago, Berkeley, a business school, and they pay $7 and they bring a case, okay? We do 4 cases that are historically famous. We do the AOL case, we do the Kraft case, and we do a couple others that are historically famous for certain reasons. We split up into 4 or 5 groups, and basically we work on cases all day long. And so your homework is the cases. You heard of Nelly and these guys have all come. I'm not saying that. About 40% or 50% of the kids in the Hall of Fame have been to the hardcore. More have been to the regular seminar back again for the very reason that Peter said. He's lonely. Being the only fucking warrior, unlike the cartoons and unlike the kung fu movies where one guy fights 87 guys all day. That's not how it really is, And so, but the hardcore, normally, we get a lot of juice. And what I think, it's not because they're more serious, because Andreas has never been to the hardcore and he's a superstar, okay? But some people need, I don't know if it's an extra nudge or whatever the fuck you call it. And so, but that would have been a hardcore case, but we would have killed it right then for the reasons I killed it, because it just is not a deal. But Natasha and her husband, who came to the seminar about a year ago, if you don't mind, I reviewed the people they picked for the board. She asked me what I thought of them. Uncharacteristically, they all look good. That's not the norm. That's not going to be you guys. Uncharacteristically, all of them were pretty big hitters. Accomplished, transaction guys, no gals, just guys, ranging in age from 59 to 65 or 70. And they look good. And so I rearranged them a little from the positions of chairman, CEO, and CFO. And I gave her a couple ideas. But she's good to go. She and her husband was here about a year ago. And and I teased her, I said, "This is your captain speaking," because she's an airline pilot, or was in your former life. But that's, the cases we have in the hardcore will be better than that one. And so, yeah.
So I work in the banking industry, and I've talked to several.
You work in the banking industry?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
I've talked to several loan officers. I know how their internal systems work, etc. So they are, the U.S. banks at least are, heavily U.S. regulated. So when they have to do due diligence, and this is towards Alexandria. So when they ask you, hey, have you committed a felony, misdemeanor, whatever, they're just doing their due diligence.
Correct.
That doesn't mean they're going to decline.
Correct.
Or anything.
They have to check the box.
Correct.
And for misdemeanors, I've seen a few deals killed because of felony. Depends what kind of felony.
Correct.
But I've never seen a deal killed for a misdemeanor. Never. It can be embarrassing because we've had guys in here that have 20 misdemeanors. But when they were 18 to 25, and now they're 40, and so it's not something you brag about at cocktail parties. But yeah, it's the normal banking due diligence that they go through. It's nothing special. Now, we have by the way, I want to make an announcement on YouTube right now. I just got an email from Bruce the Whipple, and he and I are in business. And one of his mentees went to a bank in New York, I think, upstate New York maybe, and went to the banker with warming up banks, and the banker said no, and said you were the 13th deal, QLA, that they've had in, I don't know if it was a month or recent weeks, because people that don't come to the seminar, and it said I was their chairman. And I was their chairman, okay? And so QLA is dead at that bank, and they wouldn't care if it was the greatest deal since sliced bread. And a lot of people, more and more people are misusing, not the QLA model so much, but they're putting pretend boards forward. And what the bank doesn't do enough is to check if those fuckers are actually on the board. Because I've got not one email, one phone call from any bank in fucking 15 years to verify if I was on the board. And in that particular request, I told them I was on the board. It was the truth. So I just want you to know, and we will hunt down, just as we've hunted down a few others that have been selling my product illegally. We're going to hunt down these 12 people, and there's ways of getting a hold of them. And I'm going to, do whatever's necessary to make sure they stop doing it. But I'm glad I thought about that. It is just normal due diligence.
Second thing, question, not related. After we've completed our first 5, 10, or more deals, etc., yesterday you mentioned there were 20 or so shortcuts. How would we go about getting those? Well,
some of the shortcuts you're going to stumble upon yourself. Okay. Just because you're doing it. But you heard the one guy that utilized his board in a slightly different way, and those are obvious shortcuts because the board members will say, "Hey, I'll take care of that." Okay, now I can't see anybody of your board saying that to you. "Oh, don't worry about that. I got that covered." But regular board members to a regular QLA bot will say, "No, I got that covered," or I'll go to the 3 of the 4 big 4, and I'll get that squared away. You don't have to worry about that. That's what they're supposed to do. You don't tell them to do that, but by this, but those are some of the shortcuts where you utilize your board to go get the accountants, lawyers, even the industry experts, because they're going to be involved in the general lateral or vertical, they'll know if you've been an accountant in healthcare for 25 years, 50 industry experts. If you've been a lawyer in that area, a gazillion industry experts. So those are the shortcuts. But it's not that it's a tip, but it just comes to fruition after the group has been together a while. And the reason why, just like they don't lift up their kimono and give them all your contacts, because you're just, you're a potential entity. Potentially, they're going to be board members. When you choose them, they're potential board members. They're not board members until you have the board meeting, and they're assigned officially the shares, their position. And in some cases, I'm not hot on this, where you actually give them, the description of what they're supposed to do. I don't like that because it may change. Okay? You give them a tight description, and in Europe, they won't do anything other than that description. And in Switzerland, I mean, the description's got to be from here to the castle, and they're looking at their watch, how much time. And the other thing they ask, and which is important, in the interviewing process, when they're European, they'll say, I'm very interested, if I can add value, subject to conflict, I am interested. But how much time do you envisage, as they say here, me spending? And it's because they're very much more conscious of time than Americans. And you say, legitimately, with a hand on your heart, 4 to 6 hours a month to begin with. And that's really true, because you're going to have nothing to do. 4 to 6 hours. And as we have transaction flow, it could be, 10 to 15 hours a month. And they'll appreciate that. They'll appreciate that. And most of the hours that will equate to that range is when you got a deal and you're reviewing it and you're doing due diligence and you're actually going out to see it. Because in the beginning, just as I spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes looking at her numbers, a board member would spend 10, 15 minutes, so that's, 10, 15 minutes a month. And she brings 4 or 5 deals, hopefully not from Poland. So it's not very much time. And if you take the time, the company I was referring to earlier that's going public in a few months, these guys are going to get paid like a few $1 million for maybe 100 hours. And the best example, and the live example, and I used to use, and the kids use it, is the deal that I did, the board members I had, that I gave 2% to, at the end when we exited, they each got $9 million. The guy that had 10% got $90 million. Or excuse me, 5 times, $45 million. $9 million, that's $1 million a year for maybe 10 hours a year. That's the best payment program they'll ever have. And you can say that honestly, and that was my experience. And some of the other kids' experience is even better than that. Even better than that. Yes, sir.
Can you talk about the clubs you cannot afford?
Somebody else asked me that. In my area, the Jonathan Club and the California Club are the 2 best clubs in Southern California. San Francisco Club. If you're in New York City, I'm saying this slightly tongue-in-cheek, the Harvard Club, the Cornell Club, the Yale Club, and the Princeton Club, which none of you guys went to, so that means you can't join. But the New York Athletic Club is a good club. In the Carnegie Club in Pittsburgh, in Chicago, to the extent the big schools. Now, some of the big schools clubs you can join even not being an alumni. I don't know which is which. But a good way to tell if the club's worth a shit is to look on their website and see who they're affiliated with. Meaning that you can go to that other club using the membership in that club. And and if you can go to some not high price, but they are high price really, high value clubs. Now, right now, club membership in those kind of clubs is going in the toilet. And they've got, since 2020, 2015, 2020, they've got new programs to attract people. And if you're under 30, it's almost nothing. Well, there's only a few people under 30. But if it's under 30, it's nothing. The kids in here can afford, and they put you on a program. And when you turn 30, then you have to pay out over between your 30 and 40 some payments. Okay. But you have full use of the club. They have another rate at 35 and 40. If you're over 40, fuck you, then don't give me any rates. Okay. I've been a member since 81, for 40 years now to the Jonathan Club. But we're not talking about the YMCA and that kind of shit, And they don't necessarily have to be athletic. In other words, no golf, no tennis. But I mean, they used to call them men's clubs, but you can't call them that anymore. In fact, the Goomba brothers belong to the same club in down there where they live that Trump and those guys go to. And they send me pictures all the time of them standing with Rick Scott or Ken Langone or Trump at these things, and he said the best money we ever spent. But both Jason and Anthony were known to be cheap Cubans, but they joined these clubs, and like they said, it's spot on. I mean, they've gotten business, they've gotten contracts, they've gotten connections. I don't think any of them have any they want to run for office. But I mean, it's great. It's just like you're using lawyers you can't afford, accountants you can't afford, and you might ask your accountants and lawyers, what are the clubs that belong to here in Miami or Cleveland or Toledo or wherever the fuck it is. But every city has something. Now this forefront, and I'm laughing, has the British Legion Club. It's the closest thing they have to a club. I just joined, so I shouldn't be laughing. $18 a year. It's for veterans, okay? $18 a year, and I'm planning on having the company Christmas party there, and probably save 3/4 of the budget that we would have spent. But I'm honored to be a member, but so don't take it that way. But $18 a year, I don't think I ever spent anything for $18 a year. 18 pounds, excuse me. Yes,
These
sir.
are gyms where people work out.
Yeah. The New York Athletic Club is a great social club, and it's got all the gym facilities that you'd ever want. And a lot of the clubs have ancillary clubs for tennis and for something else. Yeah, I mean it's and you're there, you're doing business. You're not there fucking around. And I know I drank too much on the 2 or 3 clubs that I belong to. And it's not that it's any cheaper. In fact, drinks can be more expensive. But when there's a couple great hotels in Washington D.C. Sally and I stay at, and you could be standing next to Vice President Pence when he was a vice president, standing at the bar, but Washington D.C. is different that way. All the other cities, although they may be very politically orientated, like Chicago, Washington, D.C. is the only place where you can be standing next to the Vice President or Secretary of State or some having a drink. And they talk to you, especially young people. They're curious, are you politically orientated or whatever? Hey, young man, you thinking of going to Congress or whatever? So, and it's an interesting experience. And all politicians aren't stupid. Most are, but all aren't. And so you might learn something. Any other questions? Comments? Now, we don't give you feedback shit because I'm not interested in your opinion about the fucking seminar. So don't think when you go back to your room you're going to have papers to fill. I couldn't give a shit less. I know it works, and so we continue to tweak it. But well, then I'll see you tonight, and be careful when you put on your kilts, kids. And the ceremony's in there, but the dinner is in the castle at the formal table, which I don't think we've eaten at yet. And then my pontification after dinner, if you want to stay and listen, is in the drawing room where I sit for an hour or so and answer questions and hopefully get mesmerized from too much cognac. Okay, thank you very much. I've enjoyed it. I hope you have as well.